The controversy continues over the ballot recount scandal in Florida. Some are speaking out on their experiences with Brenda Snipes as Broward County's election supervisor. One American News sat down with former Democrat congressional candidate Tim Canova, who ran for Congress back in 2016 and says he's had trouble with Snipes in the past. Here's part one of that interview.
Tim Canova, you've had personal experience. This is not the first time that we've seen some voter discrepancies. So can you bring us back to the beginning when you first were introduced to some of the controversy that we're seing today?
Sure. I was a candidate for Congress in 2016. I ran in a Democratic primary against Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And we had a big grassroots campaign at the time. We were generating a lot of field numbers. So we raised $3.8 million. We did it all in small donations online. And we had 4 field offices and probably about 200 to 250 people knocking on doors every day. So that's about 10 to 12,000 door knocks we had every day. That was generating a lot of data, and our data was showing us winning the race at the end. So it was a little surprising when we lost by a 13% margin. About 2 months after the election, I put in a public records request to inspect the ballots. I'm permitted to do so. Any citizen is permitted to do so under Florida law and under the Florida Constitution, actually, as well. And that's my first real experience dealing with Brenda Snipes, was that 2016 election. And the ballot request, she stonewalled it for several months. We made 3 ballot requests in total. And finally, in June of 2017, I filed a lawsuit to enforce my inspection rights. While the lawsuit was pending, 3 months into the litigation, and 3 days after we served discovery requests, Brenda Snipes destroyed all of the paper ballots, concealed it from the court for more than 2 months, and concealed it from me and my lawyers for more than 2 months. And then finally admitted to it in a sworn videotape deposition. So this was a case that was really an open and shut case, that Snipes and her underlings violated numerous federal and state criminal law statutes, and the Florida Circuit Court granted a summary judgment in my ballot request lawsuit, and in the judge's 10-page order, he found that Snipes had indeed violated all of these criminal statutes.
So this is certainly a concern for people, and being in 2018, we're seeing those same concerns still completely alive. So I think a question that a lot of people are thinking is, for all of the evidence that has been shown for these discrepancies under Snipes' watch, how is she still in power? Well,
go back to my case, because that was an eye-opener. We thought for sure when Snipes admitted to her crimes in videotape depositions, and the documentary evidence that was produced showed it as well, and then when the judge ruled that she had violated these statutes, we thought this was going to be the moment where Snipes would be fired by Governor Rick Scott, and that the Florida Department of Law Enforcement would investigate and the Attorney General would prosecute. We also reached out to the U.S. Attorney, and we waited and waited, and nothing happened. Nothing whatsoever happened. And my lawyer, who was a Republican election lawyer, got back to me and indicated that nothing was probably going to happen, and it was because, I should say, it was because the Republicans have the same financial donors and backers that Wasserman Schultz does. And Snipes is very closely tied into the Debbie Wasserman Schultz political machine.
And what do you think of their relationship now? Are we seeing the same exact thing happening, where they're working closely together?
No doubt about it. And we saw this throughout the litigation, actually, my lawsuit, where Snipes' outside counsel offered to give the court a sworn affidavit from Debbie Wasserman Schultz to try to shut down the litigation. And the court declined the offer, but just that apparently Wasserman Schultz was ready to help intervene to stop a public records lawsuit, you've got to ask why. What is she afraid of? What were they afraid of that the ballots would reveal? You don't go ahead and willfully destroy ballots if you're not covering something up. So my gut instinct told me that election was probably stolen from us, and the experts that we were consulting with, who were analyzing the data, believed that the computer software for the electronic voting machines was manipulated. And if people want to think that that's a far-fetched theory, I'm sorry, there's so many reports now of 11-year-old girl and others hacking into the Florida election systems and flipping an election outcome.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.